Hello FPL managers and welcome back for another video. Today we go over our buy hold sell for game week 11. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to show support for the channel, and also click the notification bell so you guys don't miss any future uploads. Also look out for FPL Social, which is a live in-person FPL event coming up in February of next year in Melbourne. We're going to be there, so to learn more information and get tickets, click the link in the description. And with that being said, let's jump into the video. So in today's video, we're going to have a look at 3 buy options, 3 hold options, and 3 sell options to assist you guys with your transfer planning for the upcoming game week. Starting off with the buy options, Wilfried Zaha was able to get himself an assist last week, picking up 5 points. And for that reason, we think he's going to be a great buy option from game week 11 onwards, as Crystal Palace do have some very good fixtures coming up. He's coming in at £7.4 million, so a very decent mid-price midfielder option. A lot of people have gone with Maddison, and I would recommend Zaha as well. His ownership's sitting at around 18% right now, so if you want to jump on him, definitely a nice differential to have in the middle of the park, taking it home until game week 16 when you do get that extra wildcard. Crystal Palace faced Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. So some very good fixtures from now until game week 16, with one match with an FPL rating of 3 and the rest being just an FPL rating of 2. His underlying stats have also been pretty good so far this season, with a 3.2 XG, which does rank around 12 for all players in FPL so far this season. He's been able to record 4 goals and 1 assist as well, so he is putting up decent returns on the board, so definitely one to consider in midfield. Moving on to Dominic Solanke, £5.7 million forward. He was able to produce 2 assists last game week, which has taken it up to 4 attacking returns for him for the season. So for a player of £5.7 million, I would say this is fairly decent value, and with Bournemouth's good fixtures coming up, he could be a great way to free up money in the squad, whilst also capitalising on some good FPL points that he can produce over this period. His underlying stats haven't been the best so far this season, with just a 0.69 XG. He's only returned 1 goal, but he has been more of an assister so far this season with 3 assists already. And with Fulham and Southampton especially as the next 2 opponents, I would fancy him for some returns in these games. He's been in great recent touch as well for Bournemouth, as the majority of his returns have come in the last 2 to 3 game weeks. After these next 2, he does face West Ham, Tottenham, Leeds and Everton, so some very good fixtures from now until game week 16. So if you are looking for a decent forward option as potentially that 3rd forward slot, if you're looking to get rid of Mitrovic or you've already got rid of him, or you're looking for that extra play, if you've got a 4.5 forward right now and you want to go to that extra 3rd forward, Solanke could be a good solution. Ivan Toney is the 3rd buy option on the list, another very good forward option to have in the squad. He's probably a slightly upgraded version of Solanke, so if you do have extra money in the bank, I would recommend spending £7.3 million on Toney, as his underlying stats so far this season have been extremely impressive. He's got himself a 5.01 XG so far this season, recording 6 goals and 2 assists, which is an incredibly high output for a player of around £7 million, and in my opinion is probably the best mid-price forward option right now, especially with that Mitrovic injury concern, and since Toney's recent form has been a bit better than Mitrovic's, I would prefer him right now. The only real tricky fixture is that one in game week 16 against Manchester City away. Otherwise, Brighton, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Wolves and Nottingham Forest. 5 fairly decent fixtures for some more goals and assists for Ivan Toney, hopefully. Obviously, he's coming off that goal last week, so he's been in some good touch this season, and I really like his next 5, especially for him to continue his good point scoring form. So after going over those buy options, let's have a look at some hold options now. Mo Salah is the first hold option on the list, and for me, after being one of the most transferred out players coming into game week 11, he's probably one to hold on to in the squad if he's still in your team, as Manchester City at home in game week 11 is his only real difficult fixture from now until game week 16, maybe apart from Tottenham away as well. So if he is currently in the squad, probably not worth getting him out now, especially since most people are looking to bring in De Bruyne, who blanks in game week 12. Liverpool obviously had that fixture in game week 12 against West Ham at home, and then after that, Nottingham Forest away and Leeds at home. 2 very good fixtures as well. Yes, as we touched on, Tottenham away in game week 15 is a bit difficult, but then Southampton at home in game week 16, another fairly promising fixture. So for me, probably not worth the transfer out right now, as he's got good fixtures from now until game week 16. Yes, he's not been amazing so far this season, but with 6 goal contributions or attacking returns so far this season, still a decent output. He's had a 3.22 XG, which also ranks fairly highly amongst all players so far this season. So just one right now, if he's still in the squad, probably not worth transferring out, especially since most people are looking to get De Bruyne, who's just going to blank in Gameweek 12, or another one of those Man City alternatives such as Phil Foden. And looking at their fixtures compared to Liverpool's, I would slightly prefer Liverpool's fixture, as Manchester City and Liverpool do verse each other in Gameweek 11, so there's no real point in switching to a Man City asset over Salah there. And then, of course, Liverpool do have that fixture in Gameweek 12 and have good fixtures after that. Alexander Mitrovic, surprisingly, is another player that has been heavily transferred out. I do think this is partly due to his injury concerns, but Marco Silva did say the injury wasn't too serious. He definitely was a bit touch and go for Game Week 10, but in my opinion, should be pretty close to fully fit for Game Week 11, and hopefully he can return for this fixture. He's put up very good underlying stats so far with a 4.1 XG, 6 goals and 0 assists. Yes, his recent form hasn't been the best, but with the very good fixtures in his next four of Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Leeds and Everton, I'm sure he'll be looking to turn that around. And for me, since he's most likely going to be starting in Game Week 11, I wouldn't look to get him out of the squads right now, as I think he's a pretty solid hold option and still a very decent forward option to have in the team. Yes, Solanke and Tony are two other good picks, but I think there are a couple more priority transfers right now, especially with Manchester City and Arsenal blanking in Game Week 12. Maybe you want to look to get those players out before we look to transfer out Mitrovic. Yeah, so a clear hold option here, unless you want to go for Solanke and Tony if you do have lots of transfers in the bank and you don't have too many Manchester City or Arsenal players. But otherwise, with those Man City and Arsenal assets probably being good options to transfer out in Game Week 12, I think holding on to Mitrovic and using those more priority transfers elsewhere could be more useful. Another one here is Harry Kane that has been transferred out by a few managers as well, which is a bit surprising to me since he has been very good so far this season. He got himself yet another goal in Game Week 10 away to Brighton. And Everton at home in Game Week 11 is a very good fixture from an attacking standpoint, and it's one we could actually look to captain him. Yes, Haaland's got a tricky fixture of Liverpool away, so maybe you would prefer Harry Kane with a better fixture at Everton at home to see if he could match Haaland for points. Liverpool's defence hasn't been the strongest so far this season though, so I still would expect the majority of managers to look to captain Haaland, but otherwise Kane could be a decent differential there as well. He's put up very good underlying stats so far this year, and he's probably been in the top 2 or 3 premium options in FPL right now. Between him, De Bruyne and Haaland, he's produced a 5.77 XG, which is very high amongst all players with 8 goals and 2 assists already. So considering that he is £11.4 million, a very strong forward premium option to have in the team, and probably one that I wouldn't be looking to get rid of right now, as Everton at home is a good fixture. Yes, Manchester United away is a bit tricky, but then Newcastle at home is good, Bournemouth away is good, Liverpool at home actually is a pretty decent fixture from an attacking standpoint, as is Leeds at home. So now let's have a look at some sell options. There are a couple of obvious picks here due to some injuries. The first one here is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He did pick up that injury in his most recent match and is probably going to be out until the 29th of October, according to Fantasy Premier League. So this will see him return around Game Week 14, 15, miss his next 3 matches for Liverpool, being Manchester City, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Clearly, this is it's a good opportunity to get rid of him in the squads. He's been very frustrating so far this season, especially since a few managers did get him back in on those Game Week 8 or 9 wildcards if you did use the wildcard in that game week. And he's frustrated managers from coming back into the squads on the wild card. Just a 0.93 expected assist stat for him so far this season, and he's only recorded 1 clean sheet personally. There was that annoying fixture against Everton where he got subbed off in the 58th minute and missed it on the clean sheet points. But even then, Liverpool have only recorded 2 clean sheets so far this season, which is very underwhelming, especially when you're paying £7.3 million for a defender, which Trent is coming in at. Yes, he's got good fixtures from Game Week 14 onwards, being Leeds and Southampton as 2 out of his next 3. But for me, probably one that you can get rid of now and not really look to bring back into the squads until after Game Week 16. Just because Liverpool's defensive form has been so poor this season, and Trent hasn't provided the massive amount of attacking returns that we have been hoping for. Just the 1 goal and 1 assist so far this season, which all did come in the same game against Bournemouth. So for me, a very good transfer out, especially since he's missing those next 3 games. Ivan Perisic, another one that was hyped up quite a lot as a defender option at the start of the season, but hasn't really prevailed for his owners. He's coming in at £5.5 million, so he has dropped down in price recently. His underlying stats have actually been pretty good so far this season, with a 1.24 expected assists. He has produced 0 goals, but he has recorded 3 assists as well. He's also got himself 2 clean sheets for Tottenham, but the main concern with him is he's just not getting too many starting minutes, as despite having 3 assists and 2 clean sheets, he's still only in the 20s for FPL points so far this season, so a very underwhelming pick there. He's got Everton at home next week in Gameweek 11, which is a good fixture, but as of the time of recording, Tottenham still haven't played in the Champions League, so we'll have to see whether he gets played in the Champions League and gets benched in the Premier League, which has happened in the past, which Conte has done in the past. After that, Manchester United away is not an easy fixture from a defensive standpoint. Newcastle at home, also not the easiest fixture. Bournemouth away is a nice one, but then Liverpool at home again in Game Week 15, not easy. And then Leeds in Game Week 16 have also been scoring goals recently, especially with the return of Patrick Bamford against Crystal Palace. Their attack did look very promising. They were playing a very good high press in that game. So for me, Tottenham's defence is not going to hold up too well from now until Game Week 16. And paying £5.5 million for a defender that's not always nailed to start in that Tottenham side, it's just not worth the money right now. Luis Diaz is the third sell option. He's another one that did pick up an injury for Liverpool, which is definitely very frustrating for his owners, as his ownership is still pretty high, sitting at around 20% right now. He isn't expected to be back until Boxing Day, so he's going to miss up until Game Week 16, and then obviously the next batch of Premier League games are until after Christmas, so that we'll see Luis Diaz miss quite a lot of football for Liverpool, as he's not expected to play in any of their next 6 matches, so clearly a good transfer out there, as that £8 million can be spent around the squad, especially with a couple of good mid-price midfielder options right now. James Maddison, another very good pick. Zaha, we touched on in the buy options, a decent option there as well. Almiron's been in great form for Newcastle, so if you're looking for a differential, maybe you could hop on Almiron and capitalise on his form. But since he's coming at £8 million, he's probably not going to be playing the next 6 matches, so a good chance to get him out now, especially with those difficult fixture of Manchester City coming up. It's just not worthwhile having him in the side. So yes, with a lot of other good mid-price options, a good chance to get on them now, especially before their price rises. Maddison's price did rise today. I would expect Wilfred Zaha's price to rise pretty soon as well, so maybe a good chance to jump on them and build some team value up. Thanks for watching today's buy hold sell for Game Week 11. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to show support for the channel. Also, click the notification bell to not miss any future uploads, and look out for FPL Social coming up in February of next year. The link and tickets to that are in the description down below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.